Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Helm Developer Call of May 12th, 2022. Glad to have all of you around. We're going to proceed as usual. We're going to do announcements first, then follow by discussions. So first announcements, Mr. Farina saves us again and does the RC1 build.
So the release candidate is out, and I even went and emailed the power users mailing list to let them all know that the release candidate was out so people can go take a look at it. We already did have one issue come in because somebody noticed the change in the Kubernetes API that unfortunately can show up in some cases through our stuff. Somebody's already noticed that. And so hopefully everyone's taking a look at it, or some people are. But it's out. Test it, play with it, break it. Hopefully don't break it, and everything goes out well next Wednesday, which is the same day as our session.
So just to clarify that point, Matt, the breaking change is something unavoidable. I saw what you were discussing, but for others, it's something we have to contend with and people will have to adapt.
Yeah, so the change is it's in Kubernetes. So we use some Kubernetes libraries in our stuff, and we do have our own Kubernetes client, but some parts of client Go are unavoidable to expose and still work with. And they changed factory interface in 1.24. And we have a shallow clone of that factory interface that only has the methods on it that we need. That way, if they add more methods or they do other things to it, they change ones we don't use, it doesn't actually have a breaking experience. We try to minimize that surface area. But in 124, they made a change we couldn't do anything about. And so that unfortunately does get bubbled up. And if you're using the SDK in certain ways, you might experience something with that and notice it.
Thank you, Matt.
I think they should start using proper Go versioning, right? So it's kind of used by a lot of people, so they should consider API stability. Do you bring that up?
Yeah, this has been a long running conversation in the Kubernetes community, and it is not going to happen. They figure that if you want a Go client like that, somebody should go write it.
Okay.
But they are not going to do anything like that. There were even jokes at some points of maybe we just move the whole Kubernetes code base inside of internal and nobody can use it then. And then you don't have to deal with this problem. But they didn't because so many people rely on it and you just have to deal. Breaking changes can show up in minor versions and they're not going to change it.
All right. For people should be aware that the next week is KubeCon EU, so there will be no Helm developer call. We'll resume the week after on May 26th. Any other points or announcements before we go to discussions? All right, so discussions. Jacob, you put up a issue 8132, if you want to describe that.
Yeah, hey, it's been a while since I joined one of these. It's good to be back. The issue I raised was just because it came up internally again today. And I didn't realize it's been open for a while and was closed automatically. The issue is that if you're using the helm.sh/resource policy annotations to annotate a resource is not wanting to be deleted when Helm does an upgrade or a uninstall, that annotation is only respected if you have previously used Helm to deploy it. So for example, if you go and kubectl annotate a resource and then go and do an Helm uninstall, the resource will still be deleted by Helm. So in my experience, this has been a surprising behavior for a lot of people and also potentially very dangerous depending on what you're deleting. So the issue, the proposed change here is that we go and fetch the remote resource if it still exists before we delete it. And check to see if it has this annotation on it, and then respect whatever the more conservative value would be between what Helm, the previous release, knows about and the like the remote resource. So looking for opinions if we should, if that seems like a reasonable thing to do, whether we think it would be a breaking change. And I think we could probably dedicate some developer resources from my company towards it, but also if anyone from the community is interested in working on it, happy to hand it off.
My 2 cents is that it sounds reasonable. I'm not sure whether this needs to go behind a flag or not. Being the more conservative approach overall makes me wonder about the flag. I think that's something we would need to talk about, because I'd have to actually go back and look at the backwards compatibility guide and probably talk to some folks about the intent here. But I think the functionality makes sense, whether it's hidden behind a flag or not. I think it does make sense.
Yeah, I think a big use case for us is that, you know, occasionally someone will use the Helm CLI to delete something, like an installation, sorry, a release. And normally we go do that through some other tooling that we can control the flags on and stuff. But having this be the default behavior for the CLI would be really helpful for us.
Yeah, I would also agree there, because it's a surprising thing that it actually deletes the stuff, right? So hiding this behind a flag, it will then still be surprising that it's deleted. Then it's kind of already too late.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the only thing is you can't make it default behavior until 4. So you'd have to start with a flag. Jacob,
In any case, I think in any case, I think the feature is totally useful to bring in if somebody wants to go code it up. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say as well, Matt. Till we got tangled. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll circle back with my team, and we can discuss whether it needs to be behind a flag or not in the PR, probably. Thanks.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you, Jacob, for bringing that up. I added a point. I wanted to know, Mr. Farina, it seems you have resolved the issue with GitHub in our release list, or did it get resolved by itself, or?
It magically resolved itself before I filed an issue.
Okay, so anyway, it's fixed. It was bizarre.
Mark, it seemed to apply somewhere else as well, in some other repos outside of Helm as well. So
Outside of Helm even?
Yeah, so it may have been a glitch in GitHub.
Okay, Martin, I remember now you mentioned that you saw it also in the 2.3 plugin. Is it resolved there too?
It is,
I didn't
but
check.
I think Matt Fisher put a reference to some other repo somewhere else, and it had it outside of Helm. So
okay, well, it was a bit quite surprising. Next point on the list, Helm KubeCon EU.
Yes, I just wanted to ask if everyone's had some time to take a look at the Helm survey and give feedback. I can also add a link in the chat. So this is the feedback doc I had going for the survey. I think we discussed last time that it was a bit long. So I've cut down some questions and now it should be 13, well, I think 13 questions or 15 questions minus the name and the role in the company. So the minus the demographic questions. So is that sufficient? That was the first question. And then I had some others, but we can discuss the length and the content first.
I don't know who had a chance to look at the survey originally. I personally don't have access.
Okay, I'm just, yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
didn't know
send you a
anyone.
request.
Yes, I didn't know anyone's email ID, so I wasn't able to give.
That's tricky, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
So if you could put the link in the chat for and then
Yes, I just added the link in the chat and it's in the doc as well. So this is just these are just the questions. The full survey is, I can add a link to that as well. The full survey is here, so with options, and then the questions are just in this Google Doc. So I wanted to ask if everyone can give feedback, and then also because the plan was for this to launch at KubeCon, I just wanted to know, are we planning on making it live or sharing this out? Is there a way we can embed it into maybe the CNCF website? Basically, how do we help promote it? How do we ensure that a lot of people respond to it? Is there anyone I can speak to who'll be at the booth at KubeCon that I can get it out to?
I'm not sure about getting it on the CNCF website. We can maybe submit like a help desk ticket. But I was thinking like, I guess I'll have to find a printer or something. But we could either do like a QR code to link people to this at the Helm booth, which I can take care of. Or I guess, and we can also push this. Actually, I'll talk to Scott and have him or anyone else who's also presenting, like maybe add a slide at the end of their talk, like the short link, asking people to respond. And then also we can bring this up during the Helm virtual office hours during KubeCon as well. So I will take the action items of having the speakers do it in their session, the virtual office hour, and then I will print a QR code for the booth.
Perfect. That would be really helpful. Thank you so much. So I think that was one of my biggest concerns. And then can we also promote it once it's live? So I think that this will happen only after it's live, but can we then promote it in the CNCF and possibly the Helm Slack channel too?
Yeah, I think we can just drop it into the Slack channels. CNCF will have to talk to them to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. But this should probably be like kind of like an ongoing thing for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
So we can just focus on KubeCon for now, and then like after that, push it into other channels.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please give feedback. And if you can let me know, Karen, if you need any help, I'd be happy to help you with anything. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline, about that. Much appreciated. Next on the board is Philippe, the hip about export values.
Yeah, sorry for annoying again. So there was, I think, Matt, it was as you requested like for backwards compatibility. And yeah, I didn't find a nice solution for this. Made some proposal there that we just document basically if you want to use that feature, you should at runtime basically check if the Helm version is like whatever version we introduce it in, if it is good enough or if it doesn't have that feature, and print the proper warning message. I don't know if this is something viable and what you think about it. So.
A documented method for doing this may be useful, and even something that would go into linting may also be useful to look for something like this, to see if a capability is in use, to see if, I don't know what we could lint for, but any kind of methodology to try to make this whole picture work is important. So that way things work with older charts. Like if it requires a certain version of Helm, there is the ability in the chart to set the Helm version to be greater than or equal to, and we could look to see whether something like that is set and linting.
Oh, that's actually, I don't think there's, at least it's not documented. There is no such thing as only a minimal Kubernetes or a Kubernetes version range, no Helm version range. That would be of course, yeah, a good thing then to check the somewhere range, and only allow the feature if you target a higher Helm version. But
is it not documented?
oh, that would be nice. Yeah, that would be a quite neat solution. Then I can.
This undocumented? Hold on. I think.
Or maybe I looked at the wrong place, but.
Yes, I see cube version.
Yeah.
I thought we added a Helm version too.
Which would be, there's a Tiller version field in the like V2 Helm, but
yeah,
I didn't find anything about the Helm version. So I just assumed it's not there. I didn't actually try it out if it just works.
Oh, you know what? Helm version is an internal, it's not a chart YAML thing you can set. That's what it is. Or is it?
So you can get it at runtime, right? In the templating process. So, but yeah, okay, let's check that offline then, not to.
Yeah, we just need to
here.
have some version that works because I know it's in the capabilities. Yeah, that's where it's
but
at.
then
It's
you
in the
have to
capabilities.
like explicitly check it during the templating process, right? It's then not
I know.
automatic.
I know, you're absolutely right. It would be wonderful if this were in the chart YAML, but that only gives the Kubernetes version. Okay, and that's because things are expected to be backwards compatible, and that's coming up with a nice solution for that though is going to be required here, just because we have to be able to be backwards compatible or deal with that situation well.
All right. Any more discussion, Philip, on that topic?
No,
It's okay.
No, let me check if I can find a solution with that Helm version.
Perfect, thank you. So before we reach the last item, just want to bring up, we need moderator notes and triage. Triage, I guess, would be for 2 weeks. So if we could get more people, and we need a moderator for notes for the May 26th one, not next week, the one after. So while people think about that volunteering request, Sujanya, sorry if I'm not saying your name properly, you have a pull request you would like to discuss. Go ahead.
Hey, hi. Yeah, that's my first time here. Thank you. So
Welcome.
this is basically a pull request about adding resource details to the Helm status command. So there was this pull request which was worked upon quite extensively and it was not completed. So my org in my company needs this feature, so we decided to pick it up. I sent it out for review. Matt already took a look at it on a high level, added some comments. So basically the main feedback was around adding this feature behind a flag so that we don't make it a breaking change. I believe I made the changes that were suggested. So I just thought I'll bring that up in this discussion forum. So to see if I can get some reviews on it. Yeah. So this is basically about adding resource details to Helm status command. Yeah.
Are you familiar with the one that was in V2? And does this one kind of look the same or is it different? I don't know.
I think it looks similar. So basically the context is there was one PR which was worked upon, which already had all the changes to almost backport the feature back, but I guess it had breaking changes and it had some bugs and it was left in between. So what I did is I picked it up, I fixed the bugs, and then Matt added some comments to not have breaking changes. So I also resolved them. So basically now this feature will be behind a show resources flag. And I also removed the breaking changes for the interface. So yeah.
Is it worth putting the outputs, like an example output in the description of the PR?
I can do that. Yeah, I'll do that.
If you don't mind, that'll be helpful.
Yeah.
Matt, I don't know if it's fresh in your mind. Let's see.
It is now. I added it to the 3.10 milestone in the background because we've already cut the release candidate for 3.9. I added it to that milestone to make sure that at least I'll come back and look at it. We'll need a second maintainer to review it just due to its size. And I'm waiting to see. I think CI should all pass on this, and we'll just need to come back around to it and review it. I'll see whether I can get to that next week. I don't think I'll have any. I know I won't have time this week. That week's almost over. But next week I'll try to circle back and take a look at it. If another maintainer can take a look at it in the meantime, that would be great.
This has been a very demanded feature, so thank you for putting in the effort.
Well, this is great. I'm happy to see this worked on because I've wanted this to come back. It disappeared from Helm v2 at one point because we were relying on kubectl to provide it to us, and they made changes and one day it disappeared and we had to bring it back, and I worked on that, but it didn't end up landing in 3.0 again, and it just kept getting pushed off and nobody jumped on it. So I'm really pleased you did this. So this will be on my top of mind as we go through 3.10 work. And making sure that can get in, hopefully merge sooner rather than later.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is a very demanded feature even for us as well, because yeah, it is required for us too. So I hope I can, I tried to address all the feedback from the previous PR as well as what you sent me, but I'm willing to take up whatever needs to be done to basically get it merged. So thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks. All right. I need moderator and notes, and then you guys are free to go, but not until then. So, anyone? Nobody?
You know what? I'll take up moderator.
Thank you, Matt.
I haven't done that in a long time.
Who wants to do notes? I'm not good at notes. I get too easily distracted. All right, we'll have to coerce somebody at the meeting. So if there's nothing else, or I should say, is there something else before we go? So enjoy, for those that will be at KubeCon, enjoy seeing each other and enjoy the conference. And we'll see you back in 2 weeks at this call. Thank you for joining.